Hello and welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Chloe Belchamber, and on today's episode, I'm direct messaging the Marketing and Campaigns Manager at Rainbow's Hospice, Michael Younger. We'll be discussing how nonprofit organisations can get creative on social media, as well as some important factors to consider when running digital campaigns for charities. Hi, Michael. It's great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me on, Chloe. Really looking forward to it. Yes, it should be good.
How's your week been so far? Good?
Yeah, it's been a good week. Although it's a short week, it seemed long. Shocked it's not Friday today, but no, we're good. So,
One more day. We'll be fine.
yes,
One
one
more
more
day.
day.
As you may or may not know, we like to start all of our direct message episodes with a round of quick fire questions. So are you ready to get started?
Yep, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1, tea or coffee?
Tea. Always tea. Yeah.
Facebook or LinkedIn?
Oh. Oh, that's a hard one because there's different things. I'm going to go LinkedIn.
Nice. Work from home or work from the office?
Work from home without a shadow of a doubt.
Accustomed to the lifestyle now.
Yes, yeah. I've got a newborn, so I've not missed out on any of the stuff that I would have missed out on if I was in the
Oh,
office. So,
that's
yeah.
good. Scroll through Twitter or read a newspaper?
Scroll through Twitter.
Any
Yeah,
day.
yes.
Give up social media or give up Netflix?
Oh, give up social media, I think. Yeah.
He says hesitantly.
Yeah, tricky.
Influencer marketing or paid advertising?
Paid advertising.
Casual Fridays or bring your pet to work day?
Bring your pet to work day every day should be. Yeah.
Absolutely. Follow foodies on Instagram or follow fitness?
Foodies.
Work
Yes.
hard or play hard?
Can I go both?
Absolutely.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
And finally, cats or dogs?
Dogs. Got to be a dog. Yes.
Good answer. Well, jumping straight into it now, I want to start the interview by asking you to tell us a little bit about Rainbows and all the amazing work you guys do over there.
Cool. No, so I'll try and keep this short because I could talk about rainbows forever. So we are the East Midlands only hospice for children and young people with life-limiting conditions. We look after babies right through to late 20s, and conditions vary. We cover the whole of East Midlands. So we have one hospice, but we go out into the community, providing end-of-life care, respite care. Actually, during COVID, we've introduced a home sitting service, which is a bit like the respite care would usually offer in-house, but actually out in a child or young person's house, just to give mum, dad, or parent guardian a break and offer that care that we offer. But yeah, we support the whole family, so we're not just there for the child or young person. We're there for mum, dad, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone. From the moment they walk through our doors, throughout their whole journey with us, through bereavement and beyond. So that
Wow.
is in a nutshell.
Wow, what an amazing organization. And I imagine there's an incredible amount of work that goes into your role. So, what does an average day look like for you?
As cliched as it is, and I'm going to kick myself for saying this, there is no average day. My day can vary a lot, as much as I try to plan, but on a whole, if I look after social media. So that's planning the content, posting the content, monitoring it, responding to supporters and actually to families who contact us on there, which is great. I also manage two other people who happen to be designers, so it's kind of proofing, checking the work, making sure it's up to the standard that we expect and that there's no mistakes. Planning the campaigns, so every department you can think of, so care, retail, fundraising, if they've got a campaign they want to do, they come to me, and then I have to kind of plan the workflow and how that goes, plan it in, make sure that the PR team know what they're doing, and the details of the event, that the website's up to date, that social's planned, that any marketing literature is planned, advertising. So yeah, there's a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of tabs on the internet open, and a lot of time spent on social. So
I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Now, Rainbows has been around since 1994, and I know you haven't been there that entire time, but I want to know what the online landscape looked like when Rainbows first started posting on social media.
So I looked into this the other day because I was actually quite intrigued, because I've only been there for coming up to 4 years, and we actually joined um, Facebook and Twitter in 2009. So actually, quite a few years after they kind of launched here. Joined them around the same time, and I was that intrigued. I looked at what the first tweet was from Rainbows, um, and it makes me cringe now, but I can see why it was done. But it was a tweet to promote that they had a Facebook page, and I was like,
Classic cross promotion.
it was, but it was, we've created a Facebook page. I'm like, oh, that is terrible now. But actually, I think back in 2009, it was common. And then the other platform that we use is Instagram, and we only joined that actually in 2016, so not that long ago at all. Actually, around the time I joined. So yeah, we've been, I won't say we've been slow adopters to the social online presence, but we don't jump on the next big thing that comes out. We had discussions probably about a year ago when obviously TikTok was hitting the highs and everyone was all over TikTok, and we looked at, is it a platform for us? Is it one that we should be going on? And actually doing some research and looking around our audience on there to utilize TikTok to its best abilities. I am a fan of it myself, but I couldn't see how, from working from home and with all teams being from home, events being cancelled, that we could utilize it to its maximum, especially as our audience aren't there. So we stick to where our audience are, and actually for us that is still Facebook, which is surprising. So, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a case of quality over quantity, right?
massively. Yeah, I'm all for quality over quantity. Yes.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you've come a long way since 2009. How important of a factor is social media and online marketing for charities like Rainbow? Because I imagine a large portion of your fundraising and even brand awareness comes from digital, right?
Definitely. I think that was true pre-COVID. Um, in the current situation that we find ourselves in, where obviously events are cancelled and you know our community fundraisers can't go out and about to these talks, we've had to take everything online, take everything virtually. So we're not there at village fates with a table and leaflets and newsletters. We've gone all online, and I think actually in a way it could be seen as a bit of a blessing of turning what has been a negative into a positive. Is we've gone, actually we really need to focus on our online offering and our social offering, and making sure that it is that quality over quantity. And it is really important. It's also great. It gives us a chance that we can reach a wider audience. There's only so many talks our community fundraisers can go out to, but actually we're still able to do them. We do a lot of Zoom and team meetings, and we're still able to do them, but we can offer them out more and reach more people because it's the way the world is going. Um, it's so important.
Absolutely. I recently read a report by Unity Trust Bank, and they said that 53% of their survey respondents said their social media strategy was not integrated well with their communications or fundraising strategy. Now, does this number surprise you at all, or do you think it's very common?
Uh, I would love to say I was surprised, but I'm not. I'm really, if anything, I might be a bit more surprised that it's not slightly higher. Um, Social media, although it has been around since it seems forever, but for years, it's still very much seen as the kind of the new element of marketing, and I don't know if it is given the respect it deserves all the time. Rainbows definitely does get the respect, so that's great. But I know of organisations, you see it in places where it's almost seen as more of an intern's job. Is that cliche? Yeah, anyone can do it. I've got a Facebook account, or I'm on Twitter, or I use Instagram, and I can do it. And that approach just seemed to be quite common in a lot of places. And I think social's occasionally seen as an afterthought, and that is probably why it is. That those 53% said, yeah, it's not integrated because it is the afterthought side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that charities are facing when it comes to marketing and social media?
Um, Cost being one, um, both in your traditional sense of marketing. If you want to go get any printed marketing materials, it's not the cheapest thing, and costs continuously increase. And I understand why businesses have got to make money, but even on social nowadays, I think to stand out from the noise, you can't rely on just your organic posts. There's only so many people you can reach with them. If you want to fight the algorithms of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and the like, then unfortunately you need to pay to play at the moment. So I think cost is a big challenge that a lot of charities are facing. I'm going to say expertise in some respects as well. There are a lot and I mean a lot of incredibly great content in social media channels out there being utilised by charities who are doing a fantastic job. Um, and obviously they've kind of invested in that, but on the flip side, is in any organisation, there's also probably those that could do with investing in their expertise a bit more and not seeing it as an intern's job or not that important. Everyone's on social now, so you kind of need to be utilising that more as this is your main platform, not your traditional sense now. Is that moving forward?
Definitely. And I think the format of social media gives charities an opportunity to provide information in bite sized segments. So we've got platforms like TikTok, which I know Rainbows is not on, but they limit you to 60 seconds, and Twitter, you've only got 280 characters. How can social media managers turn this possible hindrance into a way to get really creative?
Um, it's an interesting question. It definitely does give you the scope to be creative. And I've seen some great things. I think it's using it as that, you know, not see it as a hindrance, see it as a positive. The quality over quantity. So actually, if you can say it in a succinct way on Twitter, not even hitting the 208 characters, great. Utilize infographics, utilize your images, your GIFs, your videos, and actually use your social media as that hook to give a bit more interest and almost direct your audience to your website or somewhere where you can have that long form video, for example. Yes, I know Facebook and the like don't necessarily like you including links to go elsewhere. That the algorithm will mess with it, but needs must and are creative ways around it. I suppose the one downside is Instagram not giving everyone a swipe up function, because that would be fantastic to have that. You know,
Yes.
you see those who do have it. I'm embarrassed to say I follow um, a certain member of McFly on Instagram, and he uses it very well to promote his books and actually the McFly stuff. They use their swipe up function in a great way, and seeing how it's utilized by celebrities and influencers, it does give you the scope if you can get that function. So there is a 10,000 follower minimum that you need, and I don't at all recommend buying followers, but if you have functions like that available to you, utilize them and direct people to use it as that hook and get the audience interested first, and then send them to where you want them to take that action. I think also actually only having small characters or 60 seconds on TikTok and like means that actually perhaps don't just utilize your social media as being a platform to put your asks out. Use it to entertain. You know, we do that as often as we can. There are times when we can't, and we are a bit ask heavy than I'd like to be. But you know, rainbows as a hospice, hear the word hospice, you think sad place and death, dying. Yes, it has that, but it's actually a really fun and a really great place. And something we did last summer was our care team. It was their idea, and I was blown away by it and let them run with it. They created a video where they're all dancing to the High School Musical song "We're All in This Together." Um, Normally, if I ask our care team if they'll come in front of a camera or do a video, it's a short, sharp no because they're embarrassed, and I get that. I particularly don't like it myself, but they did the idea. They recorded it all and we just edited it together, and actually that for us as just a bit of fun, showing a care team who they are and having a bit of fun and are light-hearted in the doom and gloom. We use that as a great hook to actually bring people back to our website and talk more about the work we were doing at that time.
Yeah,
Stuff like that is
absolutely.
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that leads me into my next question. And I think one of the great things about social media is you can make connections and, it's a great platform for storytelling. So, what are some of the best ways you think charities or nonprofits can harness that to make an impact on the people following them? I think you shared a great idea just then.
Yeah, so that video was a great one for us. We Rainbows as an organisation, we like to we will only use actually photos and stories that are of our families and children. We don't use any stock photos at all. We only use real actual photos. And I think that is something that all charities should and probably do is tell the real stories, be open, be honest. And yes, there are some of the stories that our families tell us that we go out with and we write with. They are absolutely heartbreaking, and some of the stories I've heard, are horrible. No one wants to be in a situation that our families are in, but equally, our supporters want to hear those. They might not want to hear those stories, but they want to hear how they can make a difference and help these people. And by telling these honest, open stories, I think that's a great way for charities to do things. Sharing user-generated content is also a massive thing. It's probably actually how I spend a lot of our time on social, is responding to our supporters who are doing great fundraising activities, and no one can speak about us as an organisation better than our supporters and our families and actually our care team, or all of our team. They are all great, and that brand advocacy from those different areas is what I think charities should be harnessing. We've all charities have got them, all non-profits have got those people that can and will talk about the charity until the cows come home. Utilize that, ask if they're comfortable to sit in front of a camera and film a video, and then use snippets from that video to entertain and to inform and to educate. Use what's at your disposal. You don't need a huge budget at all to go out and do it.
Yeah, I love that. That's really great advice. And when it comes to creating, these massive campaigns and, putting together social media strategies, I'm sure, especially when it comes to charities, there are so many bases that need covering. So if you could break it down and really simplify it, what do you think are the most important factors to consider and that should be included?
Um, we've touched on it quite a bit already, but I think actually the main factor is quality over quantity. Too often people, whether it's your personal social media or a professional one, put out too much stuff. Actually, just because there's 7 days in a week doesn't mean that you have to be promoting or putting stuff out 7 days a week. Put something out once a week. If all you've got to say is on that one day, make what you're putting out quality and relevant. And then that ties into the content. Is what you're saying, bringing anything to a conversation? If you're joining the conversation, I've heard it said before, you won't walk into a room full of people and just start shouting random stuff. And in a way, that is what social media is. It's a
Yeah.
room full of strangers. If you're not going to go and walk into a room, shout random stuff with strangers. Think about what you're putting out. Also, think about where are your audience. I mentioned it earlier on. We're not on a lot of social media platforms out there because our audience are not on there. It's not the best use of our time or resources to be on TikTok, Snapchat, Clubhouse, or any of them. We concentrate on where our audience are. Yes, if our audience decide to or move off Facebook onto TikTok or somewhere else, then we will have to move with them. But it is that content quality and where your audience are. And I also think the other thing, and some organisations are getting it spot on, some not so much, and it's all different because social is a lot of noise, but timing. Why put something out at 9 o'clock in the morning if your core audience who you want to target online until 6 o'clock at night once they've been to work, had a dinner, put the kids to bed? If they're not online till then, why are you putting stuff out earlier? They're not going to see it. You're not going to get the engagement that you want. I'm sure you do it, Chloe. I'm sure you sit there after day work and scroll through your phone, and you probably actually don't notice of half the stuff you see on your social feed. I'm guilty of that. I will scroll through Facebook, Twitter a lot, and unless something really catches my eye, I probably don't notice 90% of the stuff that's on there. And it's the same for everyone. And as a charity or business, you need to kind of think, well, actually, if that's what you like from a personal point of view, the people you're targeting are the same. So think of your timing.
Absolutely. That's really sound advice and all like super manageable and super achievable. So thank you for sharing that. Um,
Right.
I want to jump back to the report we were chatting about earlier because one of the challenges some of the respondents says they faced was using these platforms to create measurable outputs that exist outside of social media. So what do you think are some ways charities can see or measure their return on time or their return on investment spent on these platforms?
Interesting. So I find that a lot of that there's still, I'm not gonna say a lot, there's still that thought of people are measuring their success on social by how many followers they've got,
Mm-hmm.
because there still seems to be that if you've got 1 million followers, then you're the best at doing that. But that's not true because you could have 1 million followers, but only one of them could be engaging. So actually looking at your engagement rate and how people are engaging, looking at your applause rate, are people sharing your content? Are people retweeting it, liking it? Um, Looking at that stuff kind of will give you an idea of what people are liking, but then how those people or supporters, are they converting onto your website? Are they hitting your website? Which is a challenge in itself, is directing someone from X social media platform onto your website. That is one challenge, and you can look at that through your analytics and see which platforms you're getting referrals from. How you then convert them from, yes, they've hit the website, how you then convert them to become a donor or take part in an event is another ball game, and can vary from day to day and week to week. But looking at, speak to your supporters, ask them what how they first of all found out about you. Was it through social? Was it through word of mouth? We're lucky that our supporters, those that I've spoke to recently, at least, are very honest. And something I heard towards the end of last year from a supporter when I never spoke to her before. I knew who she was because I recognised her from sharing our stuff on social media, and got into a conversation with her because she was doing some volunteering at the hospice. And she asked what my role was, and I said, and I think the nice thing and the way that I've measured that actually I am doing a good job in our socials working is that she turned around and said, I really like the personal approach and the approach that Rainbows has to their social media. That can't be measured by any graph, chart, numbers, or anything, but that feedback, if you can go on a feedback like that from your supporters that can actually say, I saw this on Facebook, on Twitter, and it made me feel like this, that's the most measurable thing you need. It doesn't matter whether you've got 1 million followers or you've got 10. Um, if those 10 followers are those that are taking the actions that you want them to take, then you're doing fine, and keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to speak a little bit more about Rainbow's personal following. what does your audience really respond to? What do you find resonates most with them online?
Um, Interestingly, perfect timing because I've just done our report for March and social performance. So we do one every month, and looking at that and looking at actually the first 3 months of the year, it's not surprising that family stories though and quotes from families are the posts that we get the most engagement on. They're really good stories from our care team or introducing our sibling support worker, just putting a post out saying this is so and so, this is their role. They get the likes. Recruitment always does well. I think it's the same for anyone. If you've got a post out, then people like it. It's incredible how many people would love to work it for a charity, and I know why. Working for a charity, having worked for corporate business before, they are the things that do well. You ask, you sign up for this event or sign up for that event, or they don't do as well. But I know they are the bread and butter for a lot of charities because it's a great way to reach a wider audience and get people to participate. But the engagement on them, the applause rate, the amplification rate, and the figures that actually matter, they don't they don't do as well. Whereas the what we do, why we do it, and the difference that you as a supporter makes, that's what does well. Interesting that when we look at our reports, we also look at you know, I suppose it's the negative metrics of how many people are hiding the posts or actually hiding all of the posts. And the one thing is there is no rhyme or reason to what people do and don't like. Um, I'm sure I'm not alone in the charity sector of putting a post out that I think will do really well. It's got the nice imagery of a child or young person. It's got the nice story, and whilst yes, it might be sad and a bit hard hitting, it's a nice story, and you think that's going to do great. And there's nothing more demoralizing than when you look back and go, oh, that didn't hit the mark, and then you put something out that we're all guilty of it. It's maybe a bit rushed, but it needs to go out. It's like right, we need this deadline to push. We need to put this out. And you go, it doesn't sound right, doesn't fit right, but okay, it needs to go. I have to put it out, and then that does work. You're like, why? How does that work? And
Mm-hmm.
if anyone's got the answer to that, that'd be great. But yeah, it is
Yeah.
the family stories, the care stories for us, for our supporters. That is what resonates the most and does
Absolutely.
well.
And I think that's one of like the hidden powers that charities have when it comes to social media because, everyone says when it comes to social media, you need to post like personal content, like people respond to people. So I think
Yes,
for
yeah,
charities, like that is one of your strongest assets is that you have all these amazing stories and these amazing people who are willing to share. So
yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's brands that I think do it well as well. Try to do it great, but I'm sure a lot of guests have mentioned instant smoothies, for example. I am in awe of their social media. I think they have, for a big brand, they have it spot on. They are very clever, very funny. You almost forget it is a brand. You think, oh no, it is. It's a person that you're dealing with, and they are good.
Definitely. So I always love to ask everyone who joins the podcast this question. What's your favorite thing about your job?
Oh, honestly, and it's something that for the last year I haven't done because of having to work from home and restrictions in place. There is nothing better than being with the families. You know, whether that's filming them for content for social. We usually do it one day a year. We do a photo shoot where we invite families in and we do a professional photo shoot with them. Those days where you're with the families and you're giving them the opportunity to tell their story in a way that they want to tell it and that means something to them. That is one of my favourite things. The job, just you know, being in the hospice and with the families, and also our offices when we are in the offices are on site of the hospice. We're very top floor, and in the summer we've got our windows open, and you can hear the children and young people and the siblings and the families just out in the garden playing, having fun on the adaptable swings and doing things that we all take for granted, but doing them, listening to that joy, that is my favourite thing. Would not change that. for the world, and actually is those days where you sit there and going, that's why I do my job. That is why, you know, I work over my contracted hours. That is why I'm happy to be checking social at whatever time on a Sunday night or a Saturday morning, because it's for those moments and that joy. That is, yeah, that.
I love that. My final question for you today, Michael, is how do you think rainbows will continue to succeed and make a difference in the community?
Quite simply by doing what we're doing. We're it's unfortunate that actually the work we do, there's always going to be a need for it. Unfortunately, you know, there is no infinite cure for life-limiting conditions and life-threatening illnesses, and that is a horrifying thing to think about, especially as a parent myself. But you know, there's always going to be a need for us, and being there for those children and people and families that need us, not just in the hospice, but we're actually, our strategy is looking at doing more out in the community. So, you know, we cover the whole of the East Midlands, which is a huge area, and we can't expect people all the time to travel from the bottom of Northampton to our hospice in Leicestershire. So we're actually going out to them. We're doing more in hospitals, and by going out to where we're needed rather than kind of expecting the need to come to us, we can do more. And you know, our strategy is also looking at more of the end of life and the bereavement support side of it. And unfortunately, again, that's always going to be there. We've done a lot over the last year, actually, with COVID and supporting the NHS on providing bereavement support for not just for families who've got children and young people who have passed away, but actually for families who've been affected by COVID, no matter what age of, you know, the relative. We've been providing that support, and there's always going to be that need there. And for myself and for the marketing team and for the fundraisers, you know, being able to go out and tell the rainbow story, come on podcasts like this and kind of talking about rainbows and the great work we do will just kind of help further reach our audience and increase our brand awareness. And yeah, that's how.
Well, we are absolutely more than happy to help spread the message with you today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
That is all we have time for. Thank you so much again for joining me today, Michael. If you want to learn more about Rainbows Hospice, you can find them on their social media platforms at Rainbows Hospice or online at rainbows.co.uk. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or follow us if you're listening on Spotify. As always, we'd love to hear what you thought about today's episode, so make sure you reach out and join the conversation on social media and let us know what you thought. Until next time, we've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.